Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. I'm actually filling in for His Grace Brahmacharya Prabhu, who will switch with me and preach later on in the week. So this class is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, and Text 31. Without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Givadadari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givadadari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Jamunatira Vanachari, Jamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Jamunatira Vanachari, Jamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja-vihari, Jaya Radha-Madhava, Kunja-vihari. Jai Om Vishnu-pad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya. Astottara Satashishi Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu-pad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya. Astottara Satashishi Maharaj Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Charya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Gaur. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Krishna Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Teta Swami Nityanamine. Namaste Krishna Varaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Nishi Guru Karuna Shakti Nami Narayana Namaskritya Narum Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gujirayat Nashta Prayeshu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Dhammasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, that is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 6, Purusha Shukta confirmed, and this morning we're doing text 31. Nārāyaṇe bhagavati tad idaṁ viśvam āhitam gṛhīta-māyoru-guṇaḥ sargādāv aguṇaḥ svataḥ. Nārāyaṇe bhagavati tad idaṁ viśvam āhitam gṛhīta-māyoru-guṇaḥ sargādāv aguṇaḥ svataḥ. Nārāyaṇe bhagavati tad idaṁ viśvam āhitam gṛhīta-māyoru-guṇaḥ sargādāv aguṇaḥ svataḥ. Hare Krishna. Please chant.
Nārāyaṇe bhagavati tadidam viśvam gṛhīta-māyoru-guṇaḥ sargādāv aguṇaḥ svataḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nārāyaṇe bhagavati tadedam viśvamāhitam gṛhīta-māyoru-guṇaḥ sargādāv aguṇaḥ svataḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can you scroll a little bit up? Nārāyaṇe bhagavati tadidam viśvamāhitam gṛhīta-māyoru-guṇaḥ sargādāv svataḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, we do word for word. Nārāyaṇe, unto Nārayan. Bhagavati, the personality of Godhead. Tat idam, all these material manifestations. Viśvam, all the universes. Ahitam, situated. gṛhīta, having accepted, Maya, material energies, Āhitam, greatly powerful, sargādāv, in creation, maintenance, and destruction, aguṇaḥ, without affinity for the material modes, svataḥ, self-sufficiently. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All the material manifestations of the universes are therefore situated in his powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The question put by Narad before Brahma concerning the sustenance of the material creation is thus answered. Material actions and reactions, as the material scientists can superficially observe, are not basically ultimate truth in regard to creation, maintenance, and destruction. The material energy is a potency of the Lord which is displayed in time, accepting the three qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance in the forms of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. The material energy thus works under the supreme spell of his lordship, although he is always transcendental to all such material activities. A rich man constructs a big house by spending his energy in the shape of resources, and similarly, he destroys a big house by his resources, but the maintenance is always under his personal care. The Lord is the richest of the rich because he is always fully complete in 6 opulences. Therefore, he is not required to do anything personally, but everything in the material world is carried out by his wishes and direction. Therefore, the entire material manifestation is situated in Nārāyaṇe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Truth is due to lack of knowledge only. And this fact is clearly explained by Brahmaji, who is supposed to be the creator of the universal affairs. Brahmaji is the highest authority in Vedic wisdom, and his assertion in this connection is therefore the supreme information. Right. Oma Gnati Mirandasya, Gyana Gana Shalakaya, Chakshu Umbilitam Dhyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Niti Namine. Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarini. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurasase Namaha. Ananda Srivita Gadadha Sivashadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Internet is a little slow this morning. I hope you can hear me. If not, please send me a text or something. This is a little bit slow on the site. Anyway, so to go back to the translation, all the material manifestations of the universes are therefore situated in his powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes. Hare Krishna. So this is Lord Brahma describing Lord Vishnu's activities as far as the material world is concerned. In many parts of the Shastra, when the Lord is talked about in relation to his external energies, which he creates the material world, there's always this fact that is accompanied with that statement. And that fact is, He is aloof from the material energy. He acts based on the spiritual energy, even though he owns both spiritual and material energies, both. But he prefers to act in his spiritual energy because the external energy, the material energy, that is the energies that he creates these universes, material universes, but the material universes are houses of correction. So the Supreme Lord, whose nature is Satchit Ananda, and Ananda being pleasure, wouldn't take interest much in the affairs of the place that is supposed to be a house of correction. Although he owns all the energies, he has multifarious energies, he definitely will not be that interested in a situation where people who are criminals, who are offenders, are trying to control part of his energy. But because his mercy is there, he extends himself, one, to those who are trying to get back to the original constitutional position of servants of him and his servants, and servants of the servants of the servants of the Lord. And because of love, love does not impose on anyone. Real love does not. Control is what does impose on others. But love does not. Therefore, because of his love for humanity and all living entities for that matter, he allows everyone to do as they wish to do. If they wish to serve by controlling the material energy for their own benefit, or to take whatever is in the material energy, as people do these days in the countries of the world, take things, use them without acknowledging and thanking the Lord who put it there in the first place. In other words, they act selfishly. If they want to do that, the Lord does not interfere with that. He actually permits, through the Paramatma, the Super Soul, he permits people to do what they want to do. Now, the fact of the matter is, everything that we do carries some consequences. We really are under the strict laws, stringent laws of material nature. But we're trying to think and act like we are not under the laws of material nature. And that's what's ridiculous about it. In other words, this is the illusion that people are in. We are controlled every second. So whatever we say we have as independence is minute. And whatever we do in action based on this independence is actually under the control of material nature. So the living entity thinks that he's the one in control and doing all of those things. But all the actions of human is under the mode of goodness, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance. And these were established through the creation. These were not established by the human being. The human being's action is in any one of these three categories. Therefore, the three categories control what he does. And if the three categories, mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance, controls what we do, then how much power do we really think we have? When there's a controller that makes us act in a particular way based on a particular class of actions, goodness or passion or ignorance, or a combination of them, that means our life is based on those three modes. And if our life is based on those three modes, then the three modes are the ones that are in control. Therefore, our thoughts that we are in control is actually false. So if we identify ourselves as the one in control, our sense of identity is called the ego. But we're not in control. But if we think we're in control and try to act that we're in control, then we're acting falsely. And that's why our sense of identity based on the material energy is called the false ego. That's why the word false is there, because we're still under the control. And so many examples show us under the control of material nature. Many examples show us that we're under the control of material nature. At any time, we can get sick. At any time, the weather can disrupt things that we say we want to do. At any time, we can die. And if we stay longer, without, whether we like it or not, the bones start breaking down and old age sets in, and we're not able to do a lot of the things that we used to do a few decades back. So how much control do we say we have, or do we think we have? We really don't. And that's why in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, the nature and joy and consciousness is the title of chapter 13. Text 8 through 12, Sri Krishna lists what knowledge is. Knowledge is under a number of categories, and he lists all of the categories, beginning from humility, amanitva. And he says that all of these qualities, or all of these parts of nature that we're supposed to live by, that's real understanding, real knowledge. And anything outside of that is actually ignorance. There is a list of them, which is made very clear by Krishna. And of course, there's a lot of them, and therefore the purport is also quite long, because Srila Prabhupada takes each one of them and describes each one of them. Amanitvam, which is the first one, is humility, very important. But there are others, pridelessness, and then non-violence, and then tolerance and simplicity, the need to approach a bona fide spiritual master, the need to be clean, to be steady, to be in self-control, as control of our senses, and connect with Krishna, which means renunciation of objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, and we just talked about false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, the perception, the understanding that birth, death, old age, and disease are our main problems. That's what has bound the soul to this particular arena, the material energy or the separated energy of the Lord. So we need to detach, at least mentally, from the material energy. Sometimes we get entangled by things that we say we want, especially as grihastas, spouse, then children, of course, from the marriage, home, and the rest. So we may live that way, but we have to understand that this is a lifetime that we're living that way. And after that lifetime, that's going to be it. Everything is going to be taken away, because death is the one that stops everything. That's why it's, Krishna says it's knowledge to understand that birth, death, old age, and disease are all things one in the material world. The soul doesn't even belong to the material world. So we're living an unnatural life as far as the spirit or the soul is concerned. We should aspire to live in a place that is solitary. And if we can't, and we live in the city, and the cities are in a mode of passion and ignorance for the most part, then our homes should be spiritualized. Our homes, all the walls, the different places, the kind of music that we play, should all remind us of Krishna. And we should be detached from the general mass of people. The general mass of people are not understanding very basic things about life. It is already difficult. Adhyatmic, adibhotik, and adidevi. These things, miseries from our own mind, miseries from other living entities, and miseries also from the devas, especially we see it in terms of the weather. It's already a challenge in those arenas. But why make things more difficult? We add our own negative activities to it. It's become almost fashionable for people to have a lower nature and to exhibit the lower nature everywhere. All you have to do is just get on the road with your car, and you realize here's more the passion, more the ignorance. people driving passionately, people driving without care for others. So many, it's amazing. I mean, I always think, geez, I'm surprised that there are relatively few accidents daily for the way people drive. Which means the Lord protects people despite themselves. There should be way more accidents. Several times more accidents a day for the way people drive. But somehow, there's not much goodness in people. So this is Kali Yuga. And Krishna continues that accepting the importance of self-realization. We have to accept the importance of who Krishna is and who we are. That's self-realization. We are not the bodies. We are souls that are small, insignificant parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord who is in control of everything. That's self-realization. And then the corollary for it, that is the conclusion for it, is that being here in the material world is not the right place for us to be. Therefore, we should aspire and prepare to go back to our original place of abode, that is the spiritual world, beyond the material sky. And Krishna says, when we also search, one more quality, for the absolute truth, he says, all these, which I've listed here, and Shri-Prabhupada translated nicely, I declare to be knowledge. And besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So a person has to be humble, prideless, nonviolent, tolerant, simple, have a spiritual master for guidance, be clean, be steady, self-controlled, and not connect to the objects of sense gratification, material sense gratification, but serve Krishna's senses instead. Not have false ego, to have an understanding that birth, death, old age, and disease are causes of suffering, to be detached from material energy, and also understand that the whole idea of having wife, children, or husband for that matter, if you're a woman, children, they are useless unless we use it for Krishna consciousness. That situation of being married, that is, we ourselves and our spouses help each other to stay in Krishna consciousness and to grow in Krishna consciousness, and also direct the children to grow in Krishna consciousness. And speaking about directing the children, we need to know the nature of children. They are playful. Therefore, what should be to be done to raise children in Krishna consciousness is to have them be excited about being Krishna conscious. In other words, we do, because children grow up by watching what the parents, they hear from the parents, but they also watch what the parents do. And they try to emulate what the parents do. Therefore, if the spouses, the two spouses who are parents, are serious about Krishna consciousness, and they show the activities of Krishna consciousness to, right in front of the children, then the children say, oh, mommy and daddy doing that, therefore we should also do it. That's all. They don't think that there's some philosophical reason to do that. Parents are doing it, it must be the right thing. We will also do it. And so then it's ingrained. And then later on, when they're able to reason more, the intelligence is more sharpened, then they realize this was the right thing to do. This is the world. This world, we should be detached from it, and we should live a life which is Krishna conscious. And this is how we're going to get to the spiritual world, by the mercy of the Lord and mercy of the Guru. So the whole idea of being a grihasta is we should live this material life in that particular ashram of marriage. If that's what we desire to do, we should live it for Krishna consciousness, not for material sense gratification. Married people that live for sense gratification are called grihamadis. They are not grihastas. Grihastas in Sanskrit means married, but life is based on Krishna consciousness. When life is based on material sense gratification only, that's a grihamadi. Griha is still house. But grihasta is for the household life in Krishna consciousness. And grihamadi is household life without Krishna consciousness. So many qualities are there, of course, as Sri Krishna lists them in this section. And the overall people of this world in general are not living by these. And if you're not, then there will be complications. That's why complications are so prevalent now. People have accepted a lifestyle of hatred. I don't like this other person. Everywhere you turn, politics, infighting. Just imagine you get up to go to work, and your work means that you meet people who don't like what you do. And they're always trying to put you down, and you're always trying to defend yourself and prove them wrong. That's a job. But the speaker of, not the speaker, but the one that presents the president, in the way that things are set up here, when that person meets the press secretary, this is what they have to go through. Always fighting other people who are not. Just be working with people that don't like you and you don't like them. Only the material world things will be like that. Because the spiritual world is all about love, caring, caring for others, putting others' needs before ours. As those who have Christian backgrounds who were told, love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor at the level that you love yourself. In Christian consciousness, we have to love our neighbors more than we love ourselves. Put their needs before ours first. That is the way it is in the spiritual world. So love your neighbor as yourself is just the first step. The Christian consciousness is even higher than that. You love your neighbor more than yourself. Therefore, when your neighbor is in need of something, that becomes priority in your own life. How to help that person and how not to make that person feel uncomfortable. Those all become priorities. And they are all in that quality of humility. So, Sri Krishna has listed all of them. And that's the material, we have to live like that in this material energy. It is important that we do, and it is possible to do it. Everything takes practice. Try, and pray about it. Humanity has got it all wrong. Life is lived in an upside down way. It is supposed to be one loving another person, one being the keeper of another person. But now it's selfish. Each one for himself. And hatred and all those kind of negative things are now prevalent. No wonder there won't be any kind of peace. There can't be peace in that situation. It just can't be. So our lives should not be lived based on the material energy, even though we are in the material energy, but we should live a spiritual life. His Holiness Govinda Maharaj, one of our great leaders in sannyasi, spiritual master, now he's left the body. He made a comment in one of the lectures, and he said it more than once, because I used to listen to his lectures. He said, yes, devotees are living in Kali Yuga, which is a more difficult age to live in, the age where more negativity is prevalent. But devotees should live life like the golden age, Satya Yuga. Devotees should live life like we are living in Satya Yuga, which is the best age in terms of things being more harmonious and people relating better among each other and being absolutely all the time God conscious. Devotees should live like that. He charged every devotee, not just his disciples. Every devotee should live like we're in Satya Yuga, the golden age. Even though we are in this iron age, we shouldn't play into the negativities and the vices of this world. So, yes, Krishna has created these universes, material universes, through one of his energies, the powerful material energy, the separated energy, also called the external energy, Bahiranga Shakti. And he's really not interested in even the demigods don't come around much these days. And demigods are also ones that they're powerful. They live in a mode of goodness, loving, caring, very much like that. They are the ones that are assistants of the Lord in the different aspects of the material creation. But their own nature is mode of goodness. There is some passion, but not much. Mode of goodness, for the most part. And so there's more harmony. That's why there's more harmony in the heavenly planets. Not total harmony, but more there. And as you go higher and higher, all the way up to Brahmaloka, which is also called Satyaloka, then of course, more goodness is there. More goodness. But here in the material world, it's becoming more and more and more hellish. So every action that we do affects someone else, because everyone is connected to everyone else. All you have to do is look at your material relationships and extend the family and you'll find out that everybody's connected to everyone else in the whole world. It's like that. Therefore, everything that we do individually affects the world. Therefore, if we're going to put out negativity, then negativity is going to affect the world. If we put out positivity, then positivity affects the world. We're saying that to say that we shouldn't think that, oh, I'm just one insignificant person among billions of human beings, not to mention all of those souls and bodies that are not human, plenty of those. But what we need to understand is that in our minds, this should be clear in our minds, my actions affect the entire universe. Even though I'm a one so-called insignificant person, but the activities are not insignificant. The person may be, in front of Krishna, we are insignificant souls, but our actions affect what happens in the world. If you don't quite see it that way, you can look at anybody who is now in political power. That person started just like we started too. Learn how to crawl, learn how to walk, run around, went to school. One person graduated. And through how activities panned out in a person's life, now if he makes a decision, it affects the whole country. But it's one individual. One. So if that can happen, then it means what happens in our activities also affects the whole world, even if we don't see it directly. So everything is connected to everything else. So Narada is actually asking Lord Brahma, and Srila Prabhupada ends this by saying, Lord Brahma is the highest authority in Vedic wisdom. He was born from Lord Vishnu. Krishna actually explained the Vedas to Lord Brahma. So he is one with the supreme information. He's the most intelligent in this universe that we're in. And he is the highest authority granted by Lord Vishnu in this universe. So he's the one explaining things. The Prabhupada gives the analogy that when it comes to constructing a big house, because the universe is constructed and the varieties are constructed by Lord Brahma, a rich man constructs a big house. He spends the energy, use the resources, and he can also destroy that house. So, again, through his resources, in other words, pay someone else to build, pay someone else to destroy. But when it comes to maintenance, he lives in the house, he takes care of the house. So the Lord Vishnu, does the maintenance personally, whereas Lord Brahma is the one that's deputed to create, and Lord Shiva is the one that's deputed or given the responsibility to destroy. But when it comes to maintaining, the Supreme Lord himself, Lord Vishnu, is responsible for that. That is the analogy Srila Prabhupada gave. when it comes to maintaining the house, that's done under his personal care. Make sure that the house is going on okay. Everything inside it and externally, all taken care of. But when it comes to construction, there's a particular person that's asked to do that. And they have their own crew. When it comes to destroying, another set of people come and they get that done. But maintenance, that's done by the house owner. So Lord Vishnu maintains, the Supreme Lord, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who are assistants to Lord Vishnu, they create and destroy simultaneously. So Srila Prabhupada describes Krishna as Bhagavan, one who has the 6 opulences in 4, is fully complete in 6 opulences. Everybody has a small part of it, or a combination of a few of them, but the Lord has all of these 6 opulences in 4. What are they? Wealth. He is the wealthiest. He is the richest of the rich. He is the most famous. Those who are atheists want to disregard the Lord, but they know about the Lord. And knowledge means fame. So the Lord is the most famous, the most wealthy, and the most beautiful. And that part, many people who are non-Krishna conscious people, they can't imagine that the Lord that is the oldest can be the most beautiful, because they think materially. They're thinking that, oh, everybody that gets old, the body looks old. And the body looks old, that means that there's not much beauty associated with that body. But that's the mistake they make. They're thinking of the Lord in terms of the material energy. That's a separate energy. He himself is spiritual. And spirituality does not break down. The spirit soul does not break down in any way. So he is a source of beauty. And if he's a source of beauty, then he should be the most beautiful. Without a doubt. So he's the most wealthy, he's the most famous, he's the most beautiful, and all knowledge comes from the Lord. He's the most knowledgeable. And therefore, also, as we've seen in his past times, he is the strongest. He can never be defeated by anyone. And at the same time, he can separate himself from things that are happening. Renounced. Or sometimes he can do menial things, but all depends on who he is around and how loving they are towards him. If they give their hearts to him, Krishna can behave in a mode of renunciation, even though he owns everything. And that is a sweetness of one of the qualities of the Lord, that of renunciation. Renunciation is actually more, exhibited much more in Golok Vrindavan than anywhere else. In Golok Vrindavan, that particular planet. That's why Srila Prabhupada is preparing us to go to that. Because then the Lord can be our friend. Come down to our level, even though he's the owner and the controller of all there is. And therefore, if we do menial things, he will do menial things. And the Lord performing menial tasks means that he is exhibiting his opulence of renunciation. For example, in the Battle of Kurukshetra, when Arjuna requested that he, Krishna, become Arjuna's charioteer, Krishna agreed. Charioteering activities are considered menial. Menial means it doesn't require much knowledge, much intelligence, simple things. There was a nice, wonderful function by Yudhishthira in Indraprastha when he became the king, and everybody was invited to the Rajasuya sacrifice. Krishna and Balaram, they were in Dwarka at the time, they also went to Indraprastha. And when it came to the responsibilities, the things that needed to be done, as we are aware of, is a function, is a festival. People do different parts of activities to make the festival go nicely as a whole. So Maharaj Yudhishthira began to ask some of those who he was close to, who were present, to help. His brothers, Draupadi, all of them were helping in particular services. Krishna came and also asked for service. And the service he took was also a service that exhibits his opulence of renunciation. He washed the feet of those who were coming, the guests. You come, Krishna was one of the supreme personality of God that owns everything there is, including the very people who were coming. He was the one that was washing their feet before they got into the palace. So that, again, was the menial position, and that is part of the opulence of renunciation by Krishna. When he does menial things, that is that. So he himself is not required to do anything personally. Everything in the material world is being carried out based on his wishes and his direction. He instructs the demigods, and they do things on his behalf, so that the Lord himself does not have to do anything. He doesn't even supervise. But by his mercy, he is with the living entity as Paramatma, trying to get our attention, not imposing, but trying to get our attention to him, therefore preparing us through our intelligence by how we act to go back to the spiritual world. Therefore, every living entity, Srila Prabhupada explains, is situated in the energy of the Lord. He has two energies, superior and inferior. The superior energy is for the spiritual world and everything spiritual. The material energy is the inferior energy, and that's for the material world, where the living entity thinks that they're going to be doing okay, but they wind up suffering unless they turn their attention to the Lord. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 4, the Prabhupada explains that this material world is just a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. That's the definition of material world. It's a separated energy, inferior energy, and it's also temporary. It's here for a while, then it's gone. Where does it go? The body of Lord Vishnu. That's where it came from. It goes back to the body of Lord Vishnu for a period of time when the Lord is breathing in. So these expansions, the three expansions, Vishnu expansions, are responsible for the material world. The Mahavishnu, and that is through whom the universes come to be. The Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who is responsible for creating the varieties of each universe. And Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the super soul present in every atom, all pervading throughout all of the universes. So these are called the three Purushas: Mahavishnu or Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Once that the Mahavishnu or Karanodakshaya Vishnu, the universes come through him. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the varieties of each universe. He's the soul of each universe. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He's the one that also teaches Lord Brahma to do the work of creating the varieties, the planets, and what's in each planet. And the super soul, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So there are three Vishnus responsible for the material world and the operation of the material world. Many people think, those that don't know the science of God, they think that material world is for enjoyment of the living entities. And the living entities are the ones in control. The causes and controllers and enjoyers of the material energy. That's an atheistic way of looking at things. It's false. And it will bring dissension. Because if somebody, just take one of them, controllers. If anybody wants to be a controller and another person wants to be a controller, they're definitely going to butt heads. Who is going to be the controller of controllers? That's why wars come about. And man's inhumanity to other living entities or not caring for them also generates consequences. Meat eating, the Prabhupada has talked about it, killing animals just to eat, when in fact this body is meant for vegetables. But the other animals are losing their lives because people are trying to live on them, when in fact there's abundance of vegetables, and the body is designed for vegetables. And so there is, you do something wrong, there's consequence. And we're killing, so now we turn around and start killing others, killing animals, killing birds, and now we start killing humans, and that's war. And so if we're going to be, continuing to not care about the lives of other living entities, then the results of that would be that our lives are not going to be looked at as significant either. And so all kinds of things will happen to us. The weather will give us problems and take lives of people and property of people. Fires can do it. Volcanoes can do it. Earthquakes can do it. All kinds of things like that from the demigods. That can affect us. But if we turn our attention, each one trying to live a life that is responsible, that is compassionate, and having these qualities that Krishna has listed in Bhagavad Gita, then we'll affect the world in a positive way. Nobody should think that I'm just one insignificant person, therefore my activities don't matter. If the activities that we're performing is good and the next person is doing another good thing and the next person is doing a good thing, all of a sudden, there's quite a few people who are doing good that will affect the entire ethos, the feelings in the atmosphere. And therefore, it'll affect the whole world and ultimately the entire universe. So we're not as insignificant in that sense. What we do affects what happens. And if we use activities here, if we use things that we come across for serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that would be the right thing to do, and that is what will get us back to the world. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all of them are divine, just like it's explained in the 14th text of 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It all depends what we do with the Lord's energies. So the conclusion is that to be released from this material energy, the material world, can only be possible if we surrender to the instructions of Lord Krishna and serve him according to his instructions. Otherwise, release from the material world is not possible. So our release from the material energy can only be possible if we surrender to the instructions of Guru and Krishna, the bona fide spiritual master. And the second point is, from the conclusion, one should be willing at all times to perform devotional service with the aim of pleasing Krishna. Perform devotional service for the pleasure of Krishna. That will guarantee our release from this material energy. And then what we hear about Satchidananda in eternality, knowledge, full knowledge, and full bliss, highest happiness, will be, in course of time, sooner than later, it will be our lifestyle, and then we will be back in the spiritual world, happy all of the time, and having loving relationships around us all of the time. Now we have strange relationships around us, up to a few people liking us, and we ourselves are full of so many vices that we need to get away from. Gossip, and so many other things like that we have to stop. And then our energies, our minds will be clear. And then we'll also serve. Now we see Krishna's love. It will come through. When we clean up our acts, Krishna's love comes through. And our hearts feel very content, even while we're in this material body. And then the best situation, which is in the spiritual world, will also happen. Guaranteed if we live and chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hari Rama, Hari Ram, Ram Ram, Hari Hari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for coming on this Monday morning to hear about Krishna. We all benefit that way. This is the time to unmute yourself, dear devotees, if you want to share, ask questions, or whatever things that you want to talk about involving spirituality. Feel free to do that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all as your Prabhupada.
Set mind, glory to the Prabhupada.
My takeaway from this class is how Krishna himself exuded and executed the mood of renunciation. Sometimes we tend to forget that, I think, because, of course, we picture the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and, the one that we worship. But at the same time, we tend to forget the examples that the Lord has set for us and has shown and given us. Like you mentioned, that he was the charioteer for Arjun, and he allowed himself to be served in that way, which is, like you said, a menial servant. And you mentioned another example of how the Lord was washing the feet of those sages. I mean, who would ever think? Yes. Who would ever assume that the Supreme Lord would be washing the feet of the sages? So the Lord has really showed so many examples of the importance of menial service. And as devotees, I feel that sometimes we tend to forget that. We just want the service, where it's not so menial. But Krishna himself did it. Yeah, Krishna himself did it. I mean, when he was in Gurukul, in Sandipani Muni's ashram, he would go into the woods and collect twigs and wood to burn fire, I mean, imagine the Supreme Lord going into the forest, into the wood to pick wood pieces to burn fire. So he has done everything. He's done all the menial stuff that anyone could think of. And we forget that the Supreme Lord has showed us examples. I was even thinking about this beautiful pastime of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, when he was trying to please Lokanath Swami, to become his spiritual master. And Narottam Das Thakur was washing the bathroom of where Lokanath Swami was passing stool and urine. And these are great souls, great acharyas, great, line of lineage. And they have showed, and we have read, and we know examples of menial service. And we have to remind ourselves as devotees, aspiring devotees, practicing devotees, that menial service is the way to clean the heart, because all the great souls did that. All the great acharyas. Srila Prabhupada did that. I mean, he was taking out the trash of his neighbor, not even his own, in New York City, because he was an old man. So, yeah, thank you for reminding us to really, really think of what is Yukta Vairagya, the real renunciation, not the false one, which is, the essence of our spiritual life. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your comments. Yes, renunciation is extremely important in our lives. It also helps us to be humble. Renunciation definitely is connected with humility. And so the more we act in that way, and the more we make a decision, we should actually make a decision that even though the world is living the way, people are living the way they are, I'm going to be loving towards my neighbor. I'm going to be loving. I'm going to be helpful. I'm going to be tolerant. And in that way, my own life will improve, and I'll also affect others who watch what I do. They may not say anything, but they'll see, this person is a certain way. Maybe I should be like that too, because there's good positive results from how the person is behaving. So we should make our own decisions from today on, if we haven't made it already, to be living at the very least in the mode of goodness, to hear and also to chant. Hearing and chanting are the first two in the line of devotion and service to the Lord. That should be consistent. all of the time. Hearing, chanting, hearing. So it's good to come here on this electronic, platform to hear, but on our own too. While we're off this is only 1 hour out of 24 hours. We hear still about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And maybe if you want to extend your compassion and mercy, pray for the welfare of the world, because this world has so many people doing exactly what humans are not supposed to do, acting in the mode of passion and ignorance. It's very prevalent now. So we can change it by our own actions and by praying for the welfare of the world. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions? If not, I would like to thank you for coming this morning and wishing that you have a wonderful Krishna conscious rest of the week, today and the rest of the week. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Hare Krishna.